Lee, could we benefit from rethinking how we measure inflation?
I mean, look, I'm the wrong guy to talk to about, financial anything. I'm excited when I balance my checkbook. But the one thing interesting out of this entire hearing today is that the nominee claiming that he is going to be independent from President Trump. So one of two things is happening. Either he's trying to sell you some oceanfront property in Montana, or he's in for a very rude awakening. Because what we have seen during this entire administration is when President Trump, feels he put in their position, be it the Supreme Court, be it a congressperson, be it the attorney general, when they don't do exactly what he tells them to do, they don't do exactly what he wants, he lashes out at him. He lashed out at Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was with him 99.9% of the time. Poof, she's gone from Congress. The Supreme Court, he lashed out at. Pam Biondi wasn't prosecuting people fast enough. She's no longer the Attorney General. So if he is going to be independent, which I hope he is, if he is going to be independent, the first time he breaks from whatever President Trump wants, you hope he shields himself, because it's going to be hard and it's going to be nasty.
David, Warsh says that the president never asked him to commit any particular interest rate decision. He says, like everyone else in the world, he knows of President Trump's views on interest rates. Has the Fed been too slow to cut interest rates, as President Trump's been saying?
Well, obviously, the president is going to select somebody that whose views align with his, and his strategies align as well. And in this instance, the president was right about a lot of things on this economy, barring the Iran war and the consequences of that with respect to oil prices and gas prices. Trump was right about tariffs. Trump was right about just about every economic policy he's put into place. So why not give him the benefit of the doubt? This is a businessman who's made billions of dollars. Why not try something different? Give him the benefit of the doubt. Lower interest rates, because look, I like my guest over here, my other guest over here. I balance my checkbook at best once in a while, and I know what interest rates are on credit cards and on car loans and on home loans, and a lot of Americans are pinched right now. And you know what? Cheaper access to money for regular Americans, not just big businesses, I think that would benefit the economy. The more money in the pockets of average Americans, the more benefit it has to the economy as a whole. So yes, let's lower interest rates. Let's get this housing market turned up. Let's get home and auto sales turned up. Let's boost this economy. And I think, why not? Why not try something different?
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out with Tom Tillis's rejection of Warsh's nomination. But let's move on to our next topic here. Virginia just closed the polls for the House redistricting that would shift 4 seats to Democrats for the midterm elections. Lee, the ballot measure itself, written by the Democratic legislation, says that it will temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections. Does this justifying language reflect a shift away from thinking about politics as more of a local representation instead of a national battle?
Politics is national. Everything has become national. Look, I've been running campaigns for 28 years, and one thing I've noticed, even with my local campaigns for county supervisor here in California, everything has become super nationalized and super politicized. What you have here is a case of what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I honestly think what happened is, when the Republicans in D.C. were thinking about this, they didn't think the Democrats were tough enough, had it in them to say, okay, you're going to do it in Texas, we're going to do it right back at you tenfold. And they're finding out that they're wrong. They did it in California. They're doing it in Virginia. And the way they're doing it, by taking it to the ballot box, unlike in Texas and other states where Republicans just did it through the legislature, they're actually giving the people of the state an ability to vote on it. And if anything, it's saying states like California, like Virginia, they're standing up to the Republican-initiated gerrymanders in mid-district. Let me be very clear. I am not in favor of any gerrymander mid-decade period. But in this case, they brought it on themselves.
Yeah, the tone on gerrymandering has definitely shifted. And by the way, I'm just hearing now that 41% of the votes are in, and we have 55% of those voters voting no on this. But David, what are the voters thinking with this decision before them? Could the results of this ultimately come down to who's been better at explaining the new map?
Well, you'll have to completely agree with the other guest with respect to Republicans not believing that the Democrats had the courage to do what the Republicans have struggled to do. Democrats uniformly do what they say they're going to do. And I have that same argument with the filibuster. A lot of Republicans are afraid to do anything with the filibuster because they're like, well, Democrats will do it. I promise you, they're going to do it anyway. With respect to this map, look, Texas, I believe, redistricted appropriately to give representation, to give people a voice on previously poor lines. Now, California did what I imagined California would do with their proposition. It passed because look at the voter demographic of California. Virginia's a little bit different. Virginia's kind of a purpley state still, regardless of the last election. And I think the narrative out there has been strong, especially from the former governor, that hey, this takes away your vote. And if you look at the maps, it really does disenfranchise a large percentage of the population. So it doesn't surprise me if this fails, but it wouldn't surprise me if it went through either, because this is a really slippery slope when we start to redistrict mid-year or mid-decade or however they do it. When the states with more motivation to do it effectively, if it doesn't benefit you, it's going to get done. So we need to be smarter about the way we do this because, like he said, what's good for the goose is good for a gander. And it really is. When Republicans are in charge, if they do it their way, when Democrats are in charge, they do it their way. At the end of the day, people lose a voice and lose representation. We got to be a little more diligent about how we apply those.
I mean, if this map is adopted, it will certainly change the landscape going into midterms. But our final topic here I want to get to is the Pentagon no longer requiring all military members to get the flu vaccine every year. Here's Secretary of War Pete Hegseth on the decision.
The notion that a flu vaccine must be mandatory for every service member everywhere in every circumstance at all times is just overly broad and not rational. Our new policy is simple. If you, an American warrior entrusted to defend this nation, believe that the flu vaccine is in your best interest, then you are free to take it. You should. But we will not force you.
Lee, do you think a flexible flu vaccine policy where service members choose for themselves but requirements can be tightened in high-risk situations can protect military readiness as effectively as a universal mandate?
I gotta admit, I have a hard time taking any health advice from a guy who confused a line from the Bible with a line from Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction. That being said, this goes counterintuitive to military readiness because what he's saying is basically, well, you can take it if you want, you can take it if you don't. It comes a time where we got to let's use currently Iran. If Pete Hegseth had his way and we were to send the 82nd Airborne to Iran, half of them might be out with the flu. If he had his way, there's a reason people take flu shots. There's a reason I take flu shots. There's a reason first responders and people in the military take flu shots. It's because you don't want to get sick, especially at a crucial time when your services are needed.
David,